Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Hey, welcome back to Raising Howl. It's June, it's July, it's June content. June content is when nothing really is going on in college sports and you're desperate to come up with some content, right? You know, like things like Sunbelt coaches as characters from Game of Thrones. I actually did a Sunbelt coaches as characters from Stranger Things. It was probably one of my least read columns I ever wrote. Nobody cared. Nobody wanted to know. Hey, quite frankly, I don't blame them. That's not real content. But every now and then, June gives you something to talk about. And June has given us something to talk about. My name is Jeremy Harper. This is Raising Howl, part of the Believe Network, an offshoot of Funbelt Podcast. Funbelt Podcast will be at Sunbelt Media Days coming up in July. I've got my hotel room ready. I like to stay where they're hosting the event. My partner in crime, Dusty Thibodeau, he likes to stay across the street and down the block a little bit where it's a little bit cheaper. Maybe quieter. I don't know. But anyway, that's going to be a good time. We're going to get to know some of the new faces in the Sun Belt. Some of the new faces are old faces, like the head coach for James Madison. Be good to see him again. He's back. We'll meet Louisiana Tech. That'll be interesting. That'll be fun. So yeah, I'm looking forward. But that's July. That's July content. We're talking about June. June has provided us with a little nugget. It's not Troy either. Troy, although good for Troy, did a great job in the NCAA baseball. Got through the regional, powered through UA Little Rock to get to the College World Series, bounced out Ole Miss. Good to see that. Ole Miss. At one point, somebody was like, hey, that's the best team in college baseball right now. They're gone. Couldn't get past West Virginia. West Virginia had their number. West Virginia had the Trojans' number. That's, who knows why. Maybe West Virginia wins the whole thing. That'd be cool. It would be better than, say, a SEC team win it. That's for sure. Anyway, congratulations to Troy. A great season. A season that started off slow, ended hot, ended the hottest way possible before finally falling in the elimination game. Elimination games, that's kind of where Troy liked it, by the way. That was their wheelhouse. Good baseball season for the Sun Belt. Solid stuff. Second year in a row that the Sun Belt was in the College World Series. That's something that not a lot of the smaller conferences do. And yes, Sun Belt is not a major conference. People are like, hey, we're a major baseball conference. No. We play great baseball, sure. We're not putting in the same kind of money. Our players aren't getting that kind of NIL. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Coastal and some of the other teams, maybe they're finding some big bucks. But for the most part, West Virginia has the money. They have more money than Troy, right? Anyway, congratulations to Troy and congratulations to the Sun Belt. Good work. Now, the story I was going to talk about is with Troy bowing out of the College World Series and NCAA track season being over. We can say goodbye to Texas State. Yeah. We can say adios to the Bobcats. You know what? It's a bittersweet thing for me because I enjoyed having the Bobcats in the conference. Why? Because the fans are really good. Yeah, some of them can be aggravating, just like any fan base, but for the most part, they were well informed. At times, we call it self-afflicting. They were just, a lot of them were just humble people, and they wanted a lot from their program. In 2012, when the Sun Belt was decimated by Conference USA, we invited Texas State into the fold. We said, come on in. They're an FCS program, and they had success in baseball and a little success in basketball. They always seemed to have a good track. But it felt like they were brought in because of their potential as a football school. In Texas, San Marcos. You know, Texas high school football is treated like a religion. It's like, okay, this is going to be a program that, I don't know, can maybe replace Western Kentucky, which at that time was an emerging football group of five powerhouse. Maybe it can replace Middle Tennessee, which at the time was an emerging football powerhouse. Yes, it would need time. We would need time for it to foster and grow into the role. But we liked the potential of Texas State. Texas State had that growing student body. It was building on campus. It even had a reputation for partying, which is great. So we welcomed in Texas State. And let's be honest, Texas State's transition to FBS was not easy. It was not easy. Although, funny thing, the first opponent they had as a Sun Belt team, they played against a Conference USA program, Southern Miss, and they beat them 22-15. In fact, they started the season 3-1. The only loss, a 33-7 beatdown from number 25 Texas Tech. They took out Wyoming. They took out Prairie View, which you should take out Prairie View, and they took down Southern Miss. At one point, they had a 3-game winning streak in the Sun Belt. Georgia State, South Alabama, and Idaho. They would finish out the season with a 3-game losing streak. Arkansas State, Western Kentucky, Troy. And yes, I forgot that Western Kentucky was still there. Sorry, my bad. It's Middle Tennessee State that left in 2012. But Western Kentucky was on their way too. Anyway, what I am saying is that they went 6-6 that season. If you talk to Texas State fans, they're like, we didn't get that bowl bid. Kind of got shut out. Well, that's what happens. Ask James Madison about that. The next season was even more successful. The out of conference, they were 2-2, losses to Navy and Illinois, but they beat Tulsa in overtime. Yeah, they beat UAPB. Everybody beats UAPB. They beat UAPB 65-0. No, who else they beat? Arkansas State. Yeah, beat the Cajuns too. That was a great season for Texas State. I think at the time, Texas State was thinking, okay, maybe we can hang with these guys. The next season, they were 3-9. Season after that, 2-10. In 2017, 2-10. 2018, 3-9. 2019, 3-9. 2020, 2-10. 2021, 4-8. 2022, 4-8. 2023, 8-5. They go to that bowl game for the first time. I believe that was under Coach Withers. I guess what I'm saying is it took a while for Texas State, at least in football, to acclimate, right? And the Sun Belt was patient. And there were stories about Texas State that was a little bit, I don't know, not troubling, but it just felt like, okay, maybe these guys aren't ready. I call it having an FCS mentality. FCS mentality is everything's fine the way it is. We don't want to spend more money. We're going to rely on the students' love of the program, the alumni's love of the program. And we're just going to hope the team can compete on that vibe. They didn't want to spend on a nutrition table. They didn't want to spend on facilities. They certainly didn't want to spend on a coach. They just wanted the vibe, the FBS vibe, to carry them through. And the fans didn't like it. You know, they get angry and angrier every year. 2-10 seasons, 3-9 seasons. Why can't we compete, they would say. We are Texas State. We're the Bobcats. Attendance wasn't great. And yes, at Texas State in that time, they'd had their moments like in basketball. I think they actually won a Sun Belt championship. You know, they always had a good volleyball team. In baseball, you can count on them to field a good team. Maybe even a postseason team. But football, no, it wasn't there. They're so bad at football, I began to call them the Boobcats, which I know isn't very original. It's not much of a stretch, but I made a t-shirt. It's a good t-shirt. Boobcats. Seems like they were always doing something to find a way to lose. You know, something kind of changed for the Bobcats when they picked up Kelly Damphouse, right? Something changed for them. I don't know if it's Kelly's influence. I don't know what he does as system president for the entire Texas State organization. I don't know how deep his influence goes with the athletics department. He's got several athletic departments, I guess, to look after. But there just seemed to be a new attitude all of a sudden. Yeah, they picked up Jake Spavital. And Spavital, this was before Kelly Damphouse. Spavital seemed like a coach that had a lot of promise, right? I think he came out of the University of Arizona, offensive coordinator, was going to really transform Texas State. And he was all about, you know, the transfer students and stuff, but he never really seemed to get it at Texas State. And it fell apart. So Kelly gets in there, and there's a change of management. They get some new athletic director in there, and you know they bring in Coach Kenny. Yeah, and Coach Kenny, he's from Incarnate Word, right? And he brings a bunch of Incarnate Word guys to Texas State. And they're pretty good. It kind of gives us a model for if you are an FCS coach and you get hired by a group of 5 program, bring in some of those guys from your team. They almost act like assistant coaches. They're guys who know the program, knows what the coach expects, can lead the team, set the pace. And that team did well, 8-5. Got the bowl win over North Texas. It was like, 8-5 is not a great season. It's not. But, man, was it a great season for Texas State. And suddenly they felt like the ceiling had been cracked open. The dome had been punctured. The membrane penetrated. Finally, Texas State had made its mark. At the end of the 2004 season, entering the 2025 season, the talk was Texas State was a top 25 contender, that they were a group of 5 contender to make it into the tournament, right? The Sun Belt playoffs, not the Sun Belt playoffs, the college football playoffs. Yeah. That was the expectation. Kenny was like the savior. And he's got that Lone Star moxie, too. If you talk to him, he's got that Texan drawl. He wears the big belt buckle. He's the kind of guy people get behind. And it didn't really matter in 2025 that expectations fell short. They go 7-6, 6-6 on the season. They come in 5th in the Sun Belt. I mean, at one point, they go on a 5-game losing streak, which included overtime losses to Troy, to Marshall. They lose to Arkansas State by 1. It wasn't a great season. But it didn't matter by that time because Texas State was feeling it, right? So here's what happens. The Big 10, Big 12, they start poaching the Pac-12, right? The Power 5 ate their own. Pac-12, great conference. I can say that because they never really had an effect on the Sun Belt. Great conference. Conference of champions. Didn't matter. They couldn't hold it together. The greed of the Big 10 and Big 12 was just too much. Yeah, Oregon in the Big 10 now. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, right? No, I had to get the money. Blew up the Pac-12. Just a great conference out there on the West Coast. Great footprint. A lot of rivalries. Those are gone. Had to get the money. So Pac-12, they left two of them out, right? Oregon State and Washington State. They said, you guys suck. You don't get to go anywhere. You get to stay in the Pac-12. And, those two, they didn't know what to do. They ended up playing a Mountain West schedule because the Mountain West was nice. They said, hey, guys, we understand. We'll help you out. Play with us. We'll be your Huckleberries. How did Washington State and Oregon State reward them? What was the reward for Mountain West hosting these guys? Washington State and Oregon State turned on them. Invited a bunch of guys from the Mountain West, including Boise State. San Diego State, Utah State. So we're going to take your best brands. How you like it? You can't do nothing about it. Bunch of traders from the Mountain West joined this new pretend 12 with Oregon State and Washington State, and they kind of talked about themselves like they were still a power conference. They were barely a power conference when they had those huge brands. They couldn't get a good TV deal going. Now you're going to get that deal with Utah State? Sure. They need more teams, though. And Texas State saw that opportunity. Listen, Texas State was always a little awkward in the Sun Belt. The furthest western outlier. Nobody else in the state that they could call a conference rival. I wanted Texas State and Arkansas State to be rivals. And it began to get that way at the end, right? When Texas State started getting good. But they always felt like, they were sort of the awkward kid coming in, right? They really wanted more games with Sam Houston or with UTSA. That's where they wanted to have games with. And they enjoyed their little brief rivalry with Arizona State. That was fun for them. I think they got ideas. Here's something that happens to Sun Belt teams that suddenly get a little burst of success. They get delusions of grandeur. They begin thinking to themselves, hey, maybe we're too big for the Sun Belt. We've seen it happen. Other programs. We saw it happen with Appalachian State, Georgia Southern. We're seeing it happen with James Madison. So Texas State, it's their turn. They win some football games, and they have some success at baseball. They have some success in the non-revenue sports. And they think, we're just too big for the Sun Belt now. We should be a power team. And yes, they've got the growing student base. They've got construction going on campus. They got a great cheerleader in Kelly Damphouse who has a vision. So they see an opportunity with the Pac-12. I don't know how the meetings get started. I don't know what's said in them. But there probably is some money involved. Man, enjoy those trips to Boise. Enjoy those trips to Logan. Hell, enjoy those trips to San Diego. If you're getting extra money out of it, that's great. You're going to need it. Get that new gymnastics team across the country. Anyway, so we lose Texas State. Last year was awkward at Sun Belt Media Days. Texas State had already declared, hey, we're off to the Pac-12. And man, everybody's lining up to kick their asses. Southern Miss, Monroe, South Alabama. They don't pull their weight on that. Everybody else does. They hand Texas State the L on the way out, as it should be. But we do lose something with Texas State. Texas State has, in my opinion, one of the highest ceilings in the group of five. People say, well, James Madison, look at them. They've hit their ceiling. They're not getting any better. I mean, if you want to look at James Madison, look at what happened to their softball program. Yeah, the programs around them, the bigger programs, realized what was happening. James Madison recruiting all these great softball players. They're not anymore. You know, they're going to these other bigger schools who are like, hey, we want a piece of that pie. What's going to happen to James Madison? I know secretly, I know James Madison secretly wants to be in the ACC. I get it. And that could happen, guys. Could very well happen. All it takes is Florida State and Clemson to get poached by the SEC. ACC panics. Who can we get? Maybe East Carolina, maybe Tulane. I don't know. Maybe James Madison. I guess we'll see. But the point is, Texas State had a high ceiling. I mean, they were still right. They are still rising. We don't know where the limit for Texas State is right now. They might do very well in the Pac-12, whatever that looks like. I don't know. But Texas State, as much as you want to just dismiss them leaving, it's a kind of a blow. It's a blow in that Texas State had a lot of potential. Had a lot of potential to become a flagship program in the Sun Belt. They weren't yet. But they had that potential. They used that potential and moved on somewhere else, and that's fine. That's going to happen. Now we got Louisiana Tech, a program that famously was invited to join us. They were already with us in the Sun Belt for basketball in 2001. Sun Belt said, hey, we're going to be a football program now, or a football conference now. Tech was like, we're going to stay in whatever small league we're in. That was fine. Looking back, the Sun Belt was a struggling football conference for at least 10 years. At least. In 2012, 2013, when all that realignment hit and Conference USA was just grabbing a bunch of programs, Louisiana Tech, again, had a chance to come into the Sun Belt. Louisiana Tech said no. We want to be part of the CUSA, which has this great model. They're picking large markets. That didn't work out. Those large markets, they already have established Power 5 teams in those markets. Didn't work. And now, CUSA getting poached by the American of its better properties. Louisiana Tech, the musical chairs, the music stops playing and they don't have a chair. Well, they have a chair in CUSA, but who wants to stay there? It's just an FCS league by now. So we get Louisiana Tech. And some people were upset about that. ULM is not amused. I'm sure the Cajuns have a very dim view of it. There were programs out east who grumbled, mostly fans. They wanted to see if we were going to replace Texas State, they wanted to see one of their regional foes get in. Sure. I would have loved to see East Carolina come in. I'd like to have seen Tulane come in, tell you the truth. Well, that's another Louisiana school. But Tech has a long history of athletic success. And we cannot dismiss that. They contribute to their sports. They like their sports up in Ruston, down in Ruston. They have had the same measure of success that Texas State has had, but for a much longer period of time. They don't have the same ceiling. No, we know what Louisiana Tech is capable of. Even better than having this sort of this dedication to sport, they have something even better. People hate Louisiana Tech. I hate that program. Good. Built-in rivalry. It's baked in. It's not just baked in, it is burned in. Yeah. So I welcome Louisiana Tech in. Some people don't like it. I do. I'll take it. So I say adios to Texas State. I've begun unfollowing them on the social media. I don't need to hear what they're doing in the pretend 12. I don't care about that. I'll continue following Kelly because Kelly and I are friends. I'll continue following a couple of guys that I like because Texas State fans are just mostly nice guys. I like them, but I don't really care about the Bobcats anymore. It's time to fold up the old Boobcat t-shirt. Oh, maybe the Bulldogs become the Boob Dogs. That might be my next t-shirt. So, I want to conclude this show with a movie review. Yeah, and this is a movie that's been in and out of theaters, but I thought it had a lot of promise. Lee Cronin's The Mummy. Now, I don't like horror movies, although, ironically, some of my favorite movies of all time are horror movies. The Thing, The Shining, The Witch, The Exorcist. I love those movies. I liked Lee Cronin's entry into the Evil Dead lore, Evil Dead Rises. Have you seen this movie? It's really good. It's set in an apartment building that's due for demolition, so there's only just a few residents still remaining. It's dark, it's isolated, it's raining. Somehow they come across the Book of the Dead. It gets creepy. People are possessed. There's some amalgamation of demons. It takes itself seriously. It doesn't take itself seriously. It just does a good job. It was a very entertaining horror movie with some pretty good actors in it. So fast forward a few years later, Lee Cronin, the director, he's tasked with a new movie, The Mummy. He's going to do like a new retelling. It's not The Mummy with Brendan Fraser. It's not like a mummy movie from the 1930s. This is totally different mummy movie. And the premise I loved, just kind of watching the previews. It's this family. Their kid goes missing. They have this beautiful 8-9-year-old kid, right? Young daughter. Very precocious, spunky. She disappears. She vanishes. She gets kidnapped in Egypt. Eight years later, she shows up again. They find her in a sarcophagus. And she doesn't look good. I guess living in a sarcophagus for 8 years will do that to you. Her nails are all long, hair's all gnarly, skin's all crepey. Doesn't talk. Kind of clicks her teeth. So that's the premise of the movie. The premise of the movie is, hey, this family got their daughter back. Now what do we do? And that's where everything kind of goes awry with Lee Cronin's The Mummy. Because what they choose to do is take the daughter back to New Mexico and sort of put her in the family home with their other two young kids. And it's quite obvious that there's something incredibly strange and bizarre about their daughter now. Something that requires more than just coming home. Like there needs to be a team of doctors, psychiatrists, social workers watching over this kid because there's something wrong that everybody can see. But for some reason, like, we're just going to live out in the middle of New Mexico, isolated, just like in Evil Dead Rises. And we're just going to pretend that just a little TLC is going to bring this girl back. And this movie, you could tell that, I don't know, maybe Lee Cronin comes back later and says, hey, listen, the studio took this movie away from me. I had to make a lot of choices I didn't want to make. But it's clearly evident to me that what they want to do with Lee Cronin's The Mummy is just make another version of Evil Dead. Because that's exactly what happens. You get the dead possessed. There's some sort of demon cackling inside. People crawling around really fast. Throwing up acid. It's not compelling. I've seen this movie before. And it should have been heart-wrenching. We've got our daughter back. But man, there's something wrong with her. And anytime it tries to explore an emotional theme, it just decides not to go any deeper. It goes to, oh, here she is pulling a tooth out of her body or some skin or whatever. Something gross happens. Yeah, here's the problem. Here's what they should have done with Lee Cronin's The Mummy. They should have watched The Omen. And I'm not talking about the new one with the new actors. I'm talking about the old one with Gregory Peck. Gregory Peck, you know, they have this son, right? He and his wife. And it becomes clear that there is something off with this kid, just like in The Mummy. So the father, Gregory Peck, he goes on a journey back to Italy, where he had picked up the kid in the first place, to find out what was wrong with his son. And that was the movie, was piecing together the mystery. They don't do that in this. There is a little bit of mystery piecing, but it's just lazy. Oh, I found a letter in a box that has a clue in it. Maybe this was something I should have seen before, no? Anyway, I hope Lee Cronin gets another chance to direct a movie. Maybe it doesn't even have to be a horror movie. But this was a big swing and miss, because he had a great premise. A premise that you really could have taken to dark, disturbing, emotional places, and he just decided not to do it. Maybe his next movie, he'll learn that lesson. I guess the ultimate wisdom I can give to you is do not watch Lee Cronin's The Mummy.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.